Looking if I like the trunk right We'll just see your head. Back right up into his nose, hit me right in the head.
For the second time in 2 weeks, the U.S. has lost an unmanned spy plane over Iraq. Iraq claims it shot down the remote-controlled Predator aircraft near Basra in the southern no-fly zone.
And I'm David Haffenreffer. It is lunchtime in London, 5 a.m. in Los Angeles, and 8 a.m. here in New York. Live from the CNN Financial News headquarters, you're watching.
According to the NTSB records, Flight 11 leaves Logan Airport at 8 a.m. with 92 people on board, but they only seem to have 86 names, according to CNN, who later published the only passenger list. Soon after takeoff, another plane described as MD-80 finds itself on an intersecting path with Flight 11. Boston Control notifies Flight 11, but requests no action. The planes aren't diverted, their paths intersect. Boston Control requests Flight 11 to turn 20 degrees to the right. The pilot reportedly responds and turns the airplane. But then the pilot is requested to climb and maintain 33,000 feet. The request is ignored. American 11 makes no more contact with the ground. What happens to MD-80 isn't known. Flight 175 takes off with 65 passengers, who only seem to have 56 names. At 8:21, Flight 11 turns off its transponder. This effectively makes it invisible to normal air traffic systems. According to the NTSB, it was tracked in the same spot but 2,000 feet higher using primary radar. But I can only find one instance where Needs was able to find it with primary radar, and it wasn't for a long time yet. Primary radar shows a much smaller faint dash instead of a large dot. No one could be certain if this is Flight 11, as primary radar gives no identification codes. It also yields much less accurate location and altitude readings. At this time, Flight 93 is on the runway at Newark Airport. It is awaiting takeoff. It has been ready and waiting since 8 o'clock, but for some reason it is held on the runway for 42 minutes. It is supposed to be carrying 44 passengers, but they only seem to have 33 names. Flight 11 now performs an impressively tight 80-degree turn. Mohammed Attar's voice is heard on the comms. It is assumed to be coming from Flight 11, but of course with no transponder code, nobody can be certain.
We have some planes, just stay quiet and we'll be okay. We're returning to the airport. Body move, please. We're going back to the airport.
Flight 11 descends to 29,000 feet in a matter of 30 seconds, supposedly to get back to its original altitude. But this is a big logic problem for the official story. It confirms that the plane was at 31,000 feet, which is a problem. It is also a very strange move for a genuine hijacking, and it brings up the question: how did it climb to 31,000 feet in 1 second just minutes before? John Hartling radios Flight 175.
And I told him, I said, I want you to look at your 1, 2 o'clock and look at about 29,000 feet. Tell me if you see an American 767. And he came back. He said, yeah, I see him out there. He's southbound and he's about that altitude, 29,000 feet. Well, I turned United. I said, United 175, turn 30 degrees to the right. I want to make sure I keep you away from this aircraft.
And I saw that it was the FAA line that was blinking. So I knew at that point, this really is a call from the FAA. And I picked up the line and identified myself to the Boston Center controller. And he said, he was very, he was kind of stumbling a bit. You could tell he was very concerned.
All right, Boston Center Team U, we have a problem here. We have a hijacked aircraft headed towards New York, and we need someone to scramble some F-16s or something up there to help us out.
Is this real world or exercise?
No, this is not an exercise manifest.
At 8:42, Flight 93 takes off from Newark Airport.
SDMCC, scramble Otis.
Copy, same mission.
Pilots Duff and Nasty are put on battle stations, but they don't get the orders to fly because no one seems to know where to send them.
MCC, I don't know where I'm scrambling these guys to. I need a direction.
United 175 now comes up on my frequency, and now I am tracking him. And his very first words are, "We heard the threatening transmissions from American 11.
At 8:45, Sergeant Joe McCain locates a fast-moving target 20 miles north of Manhattan. He tells Colin Scoggins at Boston where it is. From Boston, Scoggins finds another target and believes that is Flight 11. How he can differentiate between the two unidentified aircraft is unclear, especially from Boston. However, within a minute their target has disappeared. Why they don't start retracking the first target is unclear, and it's never mentioned again. At 8:46, the North Tower explodes.
Hi, check.
I got it, decoy.
Sir? Last known position that we got out of this guy was right there at the Z point. He's heading 190 at 29,000 feet. He's heading down.
At 8:47, without any further communication, Flight 175 changes its transponder code twice. This, of course, throws its identity into question. Twice.
I've never seen so much real-world stuff happen during an exercise.
Miles has some additional information now, and that's really important to understanding who might have done this and why.
Well, this is sort of our first clue as to what's going on. Obviously, more information will come out as the air traffic control tapes and hopefully the cockpit voice recordings come out. But just take a look at this. This is actual archival information from the radar tracks from the FAA ground centers. And these are the two planes which ultimately ended up at the World Trade Centers, the two towers. Both of them left Boston within 15 minutes of each other. Both were headed to Los Angeles, perhaps no coincidence, heavily laden with fuel. Both of them made extreme and noticeable deviations and were heading in the wrong direction for 30, perhaps 40 minutes, thus clearly giving air traffic controllers quite a bit of attention. There must have been some communication back and forth. It's unclear now.
This is certainly something the air traffic control folks would have